Hey guys, so we all know that prior to lifting weights, we need to do some type of pre-workout routine, whether it be plyometrics or just static stretching. We need to do something because it can improve your ability to reach full range of motion, which can there improve your ability to exploit your full muscular capacity. Additionally, if you don't do any type of warm-up, you can have some reduction in your ability to produce muscular force, which means you can lift less, and nobody wants that. So the article I'm reviewing is called The Effects of Stretching and Warm-Up Routines on Stability and Balance During Weightlifting by a Pilot Investigation by Rolf Adlisberger and Gerard Troster. This is an investigational experimental study that looks at the difference between stretching and warm-up routines before weightlifting. The investigators gathered 13 participants from the same gym with a mean age of about 28 years old. They gathered 13 participants, gave half of them, they gave 7 of them stretching, and they gave 6 of them a warm-up routine. And they additionally had 5 extra people that were the controlled group that they would have somebody to compare their results to. So the men were given a 20 kilogram bar and the women a 15 kilogram bar. So that's about 45 and 35 pounds, just like any regular barbell. The athletes completed 10 air squats, 10 front squats, 10 overhead squats, and 10 deadlifts before any type of test was completed. The athletes completed these 10 repetitions of each of these workouts and then were given the warm-up or stretching routine. By warm-up, I mean plyometrics or functional movements. Plyometrics being like, high kicks, Frankensteins, and then functional movements being something that is related to the movement you're about to complete. So for instance, when I go to the gym and I know I'm going to squat or snatch or clean, anything that's going to put me in the bottom of my squat position, I make sure I turn on my hip flexors because that's a real area of pain for me if I don't do it. So I'll do some type of like tempo box step up where I'll step up to a high box, lift myself up at a slow pace, and lower myself down that same leg just to make sure that the muscles in my hips are warm. That would be the type of warm-up routine they were given. The stretching routines they were given they included self-myofascial release, which is like foam rolling, dynamic stretching. We all know, like, walk 10 steps, stretch, walk 10, stretch, and then proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. This is basically just static stretching with a partner. So like if I was laying on the ground and I kick my leg up and someone pushes it back to stretch my hamstring, that's what one of the things they could have done during the stretching routine would be. So they tested this, they tested the person's range of motion and stability by testing their center of pressure, which is basically their center of gravity. They used a pressure sensor system. In the article, it looks like 2 feet, and it's got like sensors throughout the pads so that you can tell where the most pressure is being put. Additionally, the athletes had to make sure that they were wearing zero drop shoes. They were not allowed to wear weightlifting shoes with a heel on them. This was just to make sure that the results were uniform. So, the results. The control group obviously had no significant changes in their center of pressure, obviously because they're the control group, they're not supposed to. The stretching group had, this is weird, the air squats moved closer to their feet. The people that whenever they completed their air squats, the center of pressure moved closer to their toes. Front squat, overhead squat, and deadlift all moved backwards towards their heel, which is an ideal position. The warm-up group, air squats and front squats moved towards their heels, while overhead squats and deadlifts had no significant changes, so there was really nothing measured there. Going back to the stretching and the air squats, it's strange that pressure would move from the center of the foot towards the toes, just because whenever you're warm, you're usually able to reach a better position, but the authors concluded that this was probably because since air squatting is such a simple exercise, they probably were completing their repetitions a lot faster the second time around than they did the beginning whenever they got their baselines. So the authors concluded that stretching was the ideal technique for a pre-workout routine. This was because the stability in an overhead squat was much improved compared to that of the warm-up group. So overhead squatting is a complex movement just because you've got to get to the bottom of your squat with a bar overhead. So any improvement in the stability in that position gives a positive indication for whichever pre-workout routine that athlete completed. So that's why they concluded that stretching was the ideal way to warm up, stretching was the ideal pre-workout routine for weightlifting. Limitations in this experiment include variability and baseline flexibility. There were no tests to see whether or not an athlete had good ankle flexibility or good knee flexibility before they squatted. Obviously, you need to test that whenever you're testing range of motion. Additionally, they only had 18 participants in this whole test, which is a very small population to be testing. So obviously, having more participants the next time around they do this would give more viable results. So conclusion being that a warm-up does not provide significant stability in an overhead squat position compared to that of a stretching workout, and so we're concluding that a stretching workout is ideal for weightlifting. This is strange to me because we've always been told don't static stretch before you work out. You'll hurt yourself. But upon me thinking about it a little longer, it does make sense to me now. Just from my own personal experience, I have noticed that, sorry, my dog is right here. I have noticed that having done a workout, done my cardio before I go and weightlift, I've got less stability in my overhead squat or in my snatch. If I snatch right when I get to the gym, I'm more likely to be stable in that position just because, I'm not tired. My muscles, obviously I stretch before I work out, so my muscles are loose, but they're not fatigued. And I think that a workout or a warm-up routine prior to weightlifting could cause some fatigue, and that might be why stretching is ideal. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank y'all for listening.